Welcome to the penultimate session of Shadowrun running in the Renraku Arcology Shutdown using World of Shadows. We are back with Arthur, although Aaron has left us. So I'd like to recap a little bit of what exactly happened last session so everyone can be on the same page. We had Sharper, we had Redrum, and we had Ratatat further exploring the arcology, trying to get closer to the location of Karen and Jason, our missing KSAF Seattle News reporters and cameraman. We still have that nice little beeping location monitor that Sharper managed to hack together, but we've gotten to the 18th floor, so we're very close. Mechanically, we have 2 hold out of the 3 that we need to locate Karen and Jason. But in this time, while they were exploring, they encountered a floor of the arcology that was dubbed the Cannibal Cubicles because it was an office space populated mostly by ghouls, which in Shadowrun are sort of like zombies with a little bit of a magical element as well. And Ratatat, unfortunately, along the way, was hampered by a magical alarm system, so to speak, that my Hangouts thing keeps popping up at me, that needed to be removed through amputation. So thanks to a sharp-edged sword from Sharper, he was able to do that. And then took the heroic way out of escaping the arcology with the footage from the van. So somebody's getting out here with something for KSAF. You'll be getting that amount of payment, but the rest of you are still here trying to see if you can track down Karen and Jason. Along the way, they also encountered a figure that was dubbed the Cannibal King. This was a blood mage who was sort of kind of ruling this sort of tribal element of the arcology that due to some clever traps and manipulation, they were able to lead through some UV lit tunnels to really fuck them up. So they took care of them that way. But so now Ratatat has managed to leave the arcology with some information for the Orc Underground about the nature of where they were putting the metahuman children of the arcology, where they were going. So he's going to be able to get out of there just fine. So that leaves us with the question of where Synchro was at during this time. So Synchro, you, while they were exploring, managed to hook up with some members of the resistance within the arcology. You might have been able to ingratiate yourselves with your newfound repair skills, right? Repairing some drones, maybe even taking some of the mysterious master of the arcology's drones and repurposing them for the resistance, something along those lines. Right. You met with this cell leader whose name was Morimoto, is what he went by, a former employee of Renraku. Well, technically current, but things are a bit of chaos now. So while you were with Morimoto, I'm curious to see what you learned about the arcology. And what I'd like to do here is basically do this little love letter as a way of potentially adding hold to our navigation move and also getting to ask some questions. Right? So I'm going to have you roll with any stat that you think is appropriate. Either could be like charisma for your interaction with the resistance to see if you could gain their trust because maybe they still think you're a spy, or maybe it's intelligence through your use of repair.
I'm
How do
gonna
you
go
think you might
with.
have gained more knowledge?
I'm gonna probably go with intelligence. I think I was able to. I'm not a super charismatic guy. I can kind of come off like a jerk, but eventually people warm up to me. But my intelligence is pretty quickly useful in gaining people's trust and relationships and such.
I see. Very well. So go ahead and roll 2d6 plus intelligence. What you
So
get?
that is a 6 total.
Oh, okay. Well, in the interest of moving things along, I'll still give you your one hold.
Okay.
Um, but before we see what that six minus kind of results in, right? I want to hear a little bit of the internal monologue from some of our shadowrunners. You've been through 20, 30 floors of this arcology, right? You've seen some kind of horrific things or some curious things. I just want to know what each of your kind of impressions of the arcology are. Maybe even your wild and crazy conspiracy theories about what's really going on here. Um, Whoever is ready to go first can tell us their character's inner thoughts.
I'll go first. Wait, go, Andrew, go.
Well, Sharper just knows everything within it carries its own corruption and destruction, and the bigger the thing, the more spectacular it goes wrong. So it's not a surprise that when you put this much power, this much authority, this much raw energy, resources into one place, and then regulate it with something that is now too big for any one person to understand, when it goes wrong, it's going to look like the end of the world. But let's not get confused. That's just the same as what happens in any given pocket of a human body when he gets sick. That doesn't mean the whole thing is going to die. We'll get out, and the immune system of civilization will scrub this thing clean. The question is whether we can get our treasure out first. And also, Sharper feels that the plan has changed. If he has to choose between a news team and something that Draco has promised millions for, it's not going to be a choice.
Indeed, indeed. And how about Red Rum? What's going through your mind?
Red Rum is thinking, where is room 1835? Where is my 8 million new yen? But he is also he's happy that he's thinking about the new friends that he's made. He doesn't understand half of what Sharper says to him, but he appreciates the tone of his voice, and he realizes that he's probably stopped him doing stupid things a few times, which is a problem of his. And he's sad that his little green skin friend Ratatat is gone now, but he's happy that the dapper guy with the cute little robots has come back because he seemed nice before he went away. Other than that, I think he's glad that he bumped into these guys because he'd totally run out of snacks, and they seem to have snacks with them.
Now, Red Rum, you've been homeless for at least some time in your life, right? And you've lived in some kind of rundown conditions. So, what do you think of when you look at the arcology? You see like a mix of like opulence and like, and then like kind of functional brutalist stuff too, all sort of going to shit.
Yeah, that's a good question. That was my other I was gonna go with that too. Yeah, I think he's disappointed. He's like being told that this is like kind of the best, of like of living, like it's the where the big people, live that
Mhm.
and it's meant to be all like amazing, and it's just all like the technology is all shiny and cool, but it's like a fucking mess in here, and there's all this crazy shit going on. It's actually like more peaceful in like the slums. He knows what's going on there. It's kind of more predictable in the like slums than
Interesting.
it is here.
Yeah, very cool. So, Synchro, you've been spending time with the Resistance, right?
Yeah.
Um, they have responded to you with kind of a cold shoulder in a way. Um, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of suspicion going on with them. Um, the one thing that you kind of are informed of is that whoever is in charge here has been, and they don't say his name, even though you can kind of tell that they know, they've been um, manipulating and brainwashing people, that they've been installing implants in them and giving them augmentations without their permission and these things, and sometimes they're obvious and sometimes they aren't, and sometimes, and they had a case where, a cell a few days ago was taken down because there was a child who they rescued who turned out to be an agent of this master, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're very reticent to give you much information um, about what they know, because they're afraid that you might be reporting back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they do tell you that they've seen these people, that they were, someone mentioned that they were there when they were being dragged away, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see, like, amongst this resistance are just people who are really brave and who have a lot of hope and are trying to, you know, do their best to survive
Mm-hmm.
when it's pretty clear that the corporation has more of an interest on keeping a lid on the situation than rescuing whoever's inside, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
these are people who've kind of abandoned the corporation that they had given everything to, that dedicated their lives to, or living their lives within their building, um, and are now trying to kind of make it on their own. Um, so I guess I would ask, when you see these people, right, and you see the situation that they're in, does that change your goal at all? Are you still only interested in finding Karen and getting out? Do you think that you can help these people? What do you think?
I think so. He's always been kind of a selfish. I've always been kind of like a selfish person, I guess, and um, I kind of decided, in meeting with these people from the resistance and trying to help them, and I didn't get as far as I wanted and success that I wanted with them, but that feeling of kind of redemption, of helping others, is definitely kind of sprung up in me now, and I want to try to, um, if I can, help as many people in the arcology as I can now. Um, and and part of that is, I haven't made it known to the rest of the group, but um, my use of these drones has kind of started to really take its toll on me physically. I've basically been spending too much time in them, and it's almost like soon I have to make a decision whether to give up my physical health and really use my drones to the fullest, and kind of allow my mental and physical capabilities to kind of slip for the long term, or I'd have to stop using these drones. And I've kind of made the decision that I'm going to give everything I've got to not only find Karen and her brother, or I'm sorry, to find Karen, but to help the resistance or help whoever is in trouble here in the arcology as much as possible too.
Right, helping Karen out for the sake of her
brother,
lost brother.
correct.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
Very good. So the resistance is able to help you locate your allies. They warn you that the surveillance systems that they're using are being piggybacked off of the master's technology and kind of hold over the arcology and its security systems. So everything you're seeing, he's seeing too. But you're all able to reconnect on the 18th floor. And as common sense logic would hold, the 18th floor is going to have room 1835.
Mm-hmm.
Red Rum totally didn't make that connection with the... He had no idea where room 1835 was in the entire building.
So I think the interesting bit here, right, to zoom out a little bit, mechanically, here's what we got. We have a move that says if you have 3 hold, you can spend all that, find your treasure, which we're kind of conflating with Karen and Jason here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And get out. Or you can do a little bit more digging and spend 5 hold to find the master and try to deal with that. And I think that we might have a little bit of kind of different motivations here, because we have Red Rum and Sharper, who are all about, the mission and making the money and zip it out. And then we have Synchro, who spent a little bit more time with the human side of the arcology, just maybe more interested in saving the day. So I'm interested in seeing that little bit of dialogue between the characters to kind of see what decision we come to there.
Yeah. So
where are we when we meet up?
Oh yeah.
Very good. So you come to the 18th floor.
That'll kind of have an effect on the depth of conversation we're going to have.
True.
If we're in a hallway, then it's like, not right now, but
18th floor looks like to be a research and development lab area. So the way that this is set up in the arcology, since it's so huge, they actually have multiple labs set up, right? And you notice that each of these lab rooms has a number dedicated to it. So 1801, 1802, right? And it's sort of like a big frosted glass kind of rectangle, right? So that's the general area you come up, probably a set of stairs, because you were pretty close before, so you don't need to find an elevator or anything like that. You could maybe bust into one of these lab rooms for a bit of discussion and some pay data,
So we find one that's unoccupied?
I think that'd be a pretty good setting for the discussion, right?
Sure.
Let me just roll a random die to see what room we're in. Okay. So the room that you come into is room 1802. The key card mechanism has actually been busted off. So sometime during the initial chaos, this room was broken into. It looks like it might have been like a pharmaceutical laboratory. So there's lots of cabinets that would have been filled with pills, but they've all been sort of ransacked, right? There's maybe some like cages of like lab rats that have in the 2 weeks kind of not done so well without attention. But it's quiet in here, and there's chairs, and there's a moment to rest and re-roll hit die. and have a discussion.
Cool. So I asked Sharper. I said Sharper. I got to ask you, man. What do you want to get out of this? What is your goal?
We don't have anything on the table more compelling than 8 million.
I know you say that, but when you gave that explanation to me a while ago, I think there's more layers to you than just wanting new yen. And I think if we just go and try and go after the cash, go after the new yen piece of this, I think we're going to be shortchanging ourselves.
It's possible.
I think we need to look at the bigger picture and see if we can help the people in this arcology.
Well, pain is proximate. The closer someone is to you, the more it fires your empathy. If you have a toothache, that's the most intense pain in the world, and people starving to death down the street doesn't even rate. People dying in your hometown is more painful than people dying across the world. That's just how it is. In the time we've been having this conversation, poverty has scraped a solid, 5,000 people off this globe. It's not a matter of keeping people from dying. It's a matter of perhaps having some compassion about the how and the when of how they go. And the reason that you're feeling this more keenly is because you're close to it. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's a factor. This is not the only place this sort of thing happens.
I think you're right, but I think we have to try and affect what we can affect, right?
Sure.
And if we can affect the people's lives here, why wouldn't we try?
Well,
Red Rum agrees.
I think that's maybe the wrong way to phrase it, because there are lots of reasons why we wouldn't try. Death, dismemberment, insanity, prolonged pain. I mean, you want to talk pain is proximate.
Hold on, slow down. Let me write these all down.
Red Rum steps up and he puts his big hand on Synchro's shoulder, and he's like, think of all of the good things you could do for your friends with the 1 million new yen that I will give you from the 8 million new yen. You can do it without risking your life.
You see, there's a problem. Part of the problem that Renraku is facing, that we have been wrapped up in, is that Renraku is very careful to cover themselves legally. All of the Sin citizens that are in this place have signed agreements and have checked boxes that I have read and agreed to the undersigned for everything that's brought them here. The easiest solution Renraku is going to have is a full purge of the biologicals, and then they'll just deal with the facility. And the problem is there's no class action lawsuit and no law that can come to bear because these people have signed over to Renraku. They accepted this risk. Now we can protect them from the risk that they accepted. You could say it's disproportionate what they're facing based on the decision that they made, and I would agree. But at the same time, in doing this, it is very much the punk side of cyberpunk, because this is the system at work. This is civilization, he says, and he just gestures.
But we're only here for such a short period, maybe you longer than the rest.
Playing the old man card. Beat you with my cane, sonny.
But I don't know if I've got much usefulness left in me. And I feel like if all we're going to do is go rescue 2 people, that we're not using our skills and abilities and talents to the fullest.
You're right. Rescuing 2 people is not the highest priority. Getting 8 million is, then rescuing 2 people, then saving the world. There's a hierarchy.
Well, you're a smarter dude than I am. You have more wisdom than I do. So I'm following you on this one.
It's just a matter of we are also talking in intangibles. We don't know yet what we're facing here. But we do know that the longer we're here and the more encounters we have with it, the better it knows us, where our knowledge is growing more slowly.
And my first priority, my first debt has to be paid, which is to Karen.
I think perhaps this would be a good moment to get some clarification and see what we can find. If we can pull up some floor plans, we can see where our secret room is, we can see where our news lady is, and perhaps we can track power usage to find out where our nemesis may be. I think that might bring clarity to our conversation. There may be decisions we don't have to make.
I'm good with that.
Red Rum, I have a move that I haven't gotten to use yet, a ability that's contacts. Like I always know a guy who knows a guy. So I wouldn't mind maybe like he didn't come in here completely completely unprepared.
Wow.
You know, he made a plan before he came here. And I think perhaps like bring in mechanics to do this however you want, Michael, but maybe I think maybe there's like a troll they hire maybe on this floor like troll you know, janitors or something like that, and I've got some kind of, I wouldn't mind having some sort of, even though I think he read it and didn't understand it, but I might have some sort of floor plan for this floor that I bought in here. Is that too much? Like,
No,
you
bring in like the guy who knows the guy.
Yeah.
First I thought we were going to be running into a troll janitor up here, and I'm like, oh, I can figure that out. But if you just want to get floor plans, that's a lot easier.
Yeah, I'm kind of flashing, you know, like Red Rum's dumb, but he didn't totally come in here without, he just was too dumb to understand the info that he collected. But I think maybe he can show he's like, are you talking about something like these floor plants? I think maybe he's been looking at them upside down. He's like, I can't. He's like, I think I accidentally got the plans for floor 81. And he hands it over to.
It was upside down, bud.
I think maybe he hands it to Synchro. He hands the plans to you.
I'm like, holy shit, man! Have you had these the whole time?
Red Rum's like, yeah, but they're for floor 81. We're on floor 18.
Hey, man, you did good, buddy. Thank you. I lay them out on the table for Sharper and I and everybody to search for it and Red Rum to see.
Snap on light under the table.
Red Rum's like, oh, upside down. They were upside down.
I imagine this is pretty tight and puzzling for something this huge.
Yeah, so I think it's a little bit probably would have been very arcane for Red Rum to try to, even if knowing that this was the correct floor, to figure out exactly what's going on here. But maybe as more veteran shadowrunners and navigators and things like that, you're able to, you know, gather a bit more, to discern a bit more. You're able to, you look at the floor plan of this floor, right? And we're in a pretty rectangular floor. You see these kind of rectangular cubicles, right? And you see like the outer rim of this rectangle are individual cells of laboratories, right? Like the one you're in. But the inner sort of circle of them, they actually have them doubled up, right? So there's like 2 blocks next to each other. They share a wall or something like that, right? And you're looking through the grid, and you go down, 1831, 1832, 1834, 1836, 1837, 1838. You're like, whoa, hold on. Right? So some glitch, some error in processing, right, shows you that I guess they misnamed these 2 consecutive rooms. You have room 1834 and 1836, and there's no room 1835. But I would say you've been monitoring your tracking device, right? That's kind of synced up to the RFID chips that Karen and Jason have or whatever, right? It's beeping in a different color now that you're on the same latitude, right? So now it's a green light instead of a red light, and you can kind of determine by the frequency, right? You can triangulate a little bit here that the laboratory you're in and room labs 1834 and 1836 are approximately where you might estimate that signal's coming from. Now, you could, by spending your 3 hold, what we're going to be able to do is kind of uncover the exact location of Karen and Jason in room 1835, right? Because you just have that ready for you at any time. But if you wanted to look further into power sources and use that to try to determine where the master's located, that's looking more at more uses of that labyrinth move to try to gain 5 hold to find them and confront them. So
we kind of have to choose one or the other.
Well, it'd be a little difficult to accumulate 5 more hold in one session after spending 3. Accumulating 2 more might not be super difficult. We might be able to cram that into our time to turn your 3 to 5. But to spend your 3, spend all 5 outside of the scope of today's session.
Well, that does raise a question. It looks like we've got an answer that we've got a fairly straight shot to get at the reporters. And from there, I believe we could find our way out.
Indeed.
How do you feel about that, Synchro?
I'm good with that. Like I said, my first debt needs to be paid.
All right. I also think that while we're there, if we have an opportunistic moment that we can figure out this other door issue, it's worth taking risks to me.
Okay.
But if we don't have an opportunity, this is not a place I think we should linger. How's that hit you, Red Rum?
Red Rum had accidentally vagued out, and he's just looking at the wall and humming, and he can't he doesn't respond.
All right.
He's good with it.
We're gonna. Red Rum, were you able to process that 1835 was not in the floor plans? That only 1834 and 36 were. Did you catch that in your mind?
I don't think he understands it.
Those are very tiny letters.
Yeah.
He thought he had floor plans for floor 81 anyways, right?
He only I think he pretty much doesn't listen, or isn't, like, he's not able to keep engaging with the conversation, but every time someone says room 1835, he looks up and tries to, like, pay attention for a while, and then after a while he just, like, slowly looks away back at the wall.
So, whoever wants to can take this 3 hold and tell me how you find room 1835. And however you tell me you find it is how it is found.
1835, or where the news people are?
Well, yes.
Okay.
We're going to discover that they are in this room.
Okay, so here's the thing. Anybody mind if I do this?
No, please.
I wouldn't mind just briefly beforehand having I don't know how much Red Rum had, like, told these guys about the job and how he got his job and the whole, like, I don't think he remembers the name, the Draco Foundation name thing, but I think I wouldn't mind him like talking some nonsense about the Dragon President or something, and just so that these guys are, like, in on where the actual job, if that means anything.
I think the same night that he found this information, he was watching Mission Impossible movies because they're still making them. and they're still using Tom Cruise, and he looks exactly the same.
Cyber Botox.
Oh man, this is Shadowrun. It could be way weirder than that, or not. Anyway, so I think he thinks that the president gave him this mission if he chose to accept it.
Or I think maybe, I think
disavow-
also he thinks the president gave him the mission if he chose to accept it, but also that the president is going to be there to give him, to reward him with the money. He's kind of thinking it as some sort of giant hide and seek game where he wins money at the end of it.
But they'll disavow all knowledge of him if he's caught.
Yeah, he's like, I can't wait to meet the dragon president in room 1835.
Yeah.
So what we need to do here is look for a pattern. And the pattern that we're missing is the blueprint is only orthogonally connected to vertical space. Now, if you look along this wall, it's missing numbers. If you look along this wall, it's missing numbers. But if you pull back to the one that we pulled up on the screen, you'll notice that that's because they're stacked vertically. This is an open hallway, and the hallway has horizontally multiple levels. The reason 185 is not here, is 1835 is not here, is because it's stacked one level up in an open hallway.
So it's actually on floor 19.
Well, that's not how Renraku numbered them. Every 4 floors is 1 floor.
Oh.
So it's floor 0.2, 0.5, 0.7.
So when you're standing in this hallway in between these cubicles of laboratories, right, you can look up almost like you're looking at a large vaulted ceiling.
Right.
And it looks like they go up. But really, some of those are actually additional laboratories.
So what happened is that's assumed in the subtext. You have to know how to read the blueprints, and it has a special digital code that indicates it's a vertical aberration. But we don't have that level of detail until you see the pattern, that there's missing numbers all the way around. And so it's a vertical thing.
No wonder Red Rum couldn't understand it.
Yeah. So you're able to decipher then exactly where this 35 is at then.
Right, because we got like the ground floor location, and then there'll be a floor up or 2 floors up or however high it is.
Sure. So you're standing at the foot of the connected cells of 1834 and 1836, right? And you look up. What do you see up there?
Well, basically, when they triggered the lockdown, all of the staircases retracted into the walls because that's standard emergency procedure. So all we have to do is pop the panel and give it the manual all clear. Stairs will come out. We can walk right up.
Okay. And you absolutely do so.
All right. So there's nobody roaming the halls up here.
Not in the various halls themselves. I think maybe as you walk by some of these frosted glass laboratories, you still see things like moving inside, right? You're not really sure. There are spikes and bees and lasers. No, I'm kidding. That's not present. But you maybe see some dark, shadowy shapes, or you see you hear like the buzzing of power tools in certain rooms. But the hallways themselves are pretty quiet. But you do see.
Think we're close enough. Yeah, we're close enough to our objective. We don't want to poke the bear.
Yeah, there are lots and lots of like security cameras, and every once in a while you pass by a camera and it'll kind of swivel by you, right? But as far as you know, you've earned the master's appreciation by your proving yourself in their proving ground. But
interesting.
No opposition has been brought to bear on you.
Of course, they can afford to be cocky. As far as they can tell, we don't have an exit plan. We don't have an exit plan.
Nah, it'll probably just be a roll. We'll just say, here, let's see how it goes. So you pop this panel out, right? And you do have to kind of do some, I'm sure that Synchro gets in there with his multi-tool and his phasometer or whatever, right? And the steps kind of like retract from the wall in a really kind of cool way. They're just like sort of like hovering steps, right? There's no guardrail. It's just like the straight stainless steel planks. And you all sort of ascend the staircase, and you come to a very standard door with this nice gold-plated door plaque on it that says 1835. So, if you bring back information on what lies behind this door, you can turn that information into the Draco Foundation with a reward of 8 million yen.
So when I got my upgrades, did I get a camera recording capacity? Is that something I could have built in?
I definitely think that's possible.
I mean, he doesn't use it all the time. He's like a grandpa with a cell phone. You know, you use it for emergencies, but
Right.
he knows how it works.
So what does this look like? Is this just your cyber eyes have like a little blinking red light in your peripheral vision, or do you have like a camera that pops out of your shoulder? What's it look like?
Well, he's got meat eyes, but he does have metallic the dermal implants in his skull. So basically, it's just something that sticks a little black circle out by his temple, and it's like the little black circles on those surveillance cameras, so that you can look around from there, but it's on the side of his head. Looks like just a black marble, and it's retractable.
Then you have like the little aperture opening type thing.
Well, when it pulls back in, there's just a pale bloodless slit. I mean, it's just a nothing, but it can poke out. It was a bonus that he got, because when you have both arms done, then you earn enough points. So
you skipped the tail.
It's the free shipping of the cyber world.
Yeah. Amazon Augmentation Prime. I think your old buddy Cloud Kills would be very proud of your pirate broadcasting you're about to do here.
They send drone surgeons. It's not pretty.
Oh gosh. So who's going to go ahead and crack the door first?
I figure Sharper's happy to take point with Red Rum behind him, and then we'll preserve our mobility technology guy in the back once we've soaked up all the bullets. How's that sound?
Yeah, if if something goes wrong and it takes too long, though, Red Rum's totally just going to go ape shit on the door with his chainsaw and gun and kicking.
But Sharper has had a word with him. Kind of a light the lamp, not the rat kind of conversation.
Yeah, perhaps he even immediately goes to do that at the start. He's like, okay, here we go.
Now, if you do reach a point where you cannot control yourself, the safe word is cheesecake. Just yell cheesecake, and I will know that there's no further reasoning, and I will remove myself from your path. How's that sound?
Okay, I will yell cheese steak.
Oh man, perfect. I really need to find a opportunity to have a cheesecake moment here.
I'm taking the track drone off my back and just getting it on the ground.
Cool. That's exactly what I was going to ask. So it's a little tight around here, but I'm assuming that the staircase is shallow enough that your track drone is going to be able to ascend it without any issues. These were probably designed to accommodate that anyway.
It's not a Dalek.
Let me roll the die fate. I know mostly what's behind here, but I want to see if there's a danger here as well. There might not be. And roll for your party did a weird thing. Hold on.
I really don't know what to do with an 11.
Oh, well, luckily, on the die of fate, you have rolled a 6, which for some is sad because they love to see failure, but for some is happy because it means you're not immediately dead. Door does not explode while you open it. I don't know. That wouldn't have been a 1, but that would have been pretty anticlimactic. But you open the door. And
it's just unlocked.
It's unlocked. Yeah. I'm guessing Sharper tries the knob first. Right? So again, a 6 result on the die of fate is the best possible result for everyone. For the players, that is.
Huh. Strippers.
So there's money raining from the ceiling.
The dragon.
That's a lot of glitter.
And Dunkelzahn was not assassinated, and he's here to congratulate. And everyone applauded. It's not quite so pleasant. There's the kind of fluorescent lighting in this floor that's been surrounding you, which might be a nice relief from dealing with warning lights and emergency lights glowing and flashing. To have a consistent, sterile light about you might have brought you some comfort or put you more on edge. But you open the door to this room, and it's dark. There's no lights coming from the inside of this room, but the light from the hallway and behind you sort of pierces in as you open the door. This room is probably it's pretty spacious. It takes up the size of both 34 and 36, right? So this is like double wide trailer size, we'll say, right? As you come in here. Very dark. You can hear, because all of your senses are on high alert, right? The sound of kind of clicking and whirring and rhythm of drones. But the first thing that the light touches is dangling feet. And as your eyes go up, you see a person who's wearing like a hospital smock and gown. As you look up further, you see that they're suspended in a harness, right, from the ceiling. And as you keep looking up, and as the light kind of doesn't penetrate all the way through the ceiling, because again, this is like a 4-floor thing, you see cables and hoses attached to them in different parts of their bodies as it goes up. And as you open the door further, you see lots and lots of hanging bodies. And your location beeper is going a little nuts.
Yeah, we can just turn that off. I've got my rifle, so I'm going to go ahead and snap on the underslung flashlight.
Mm.
And I'm going to look around for a computer console.
Okay. So your flashlight sort of sweeps by, and I'm guessing the rest of you are kind of following in a little bit, right? Cautiously.
Mm-hmm.
There are dozens, probably over 40 bodies dangling in here, right? Your light bounces off a reflective body of a drone. It looks like a maintenance drone. It's kind of like a UFO-shaped thing with 4 little spindly legs coming out of the bottom, and it's got little probe arms. It's sort of inspecting one of these bodies. I don't think you see a computer console immediately. Yeah.
Okay, so Sharp will just turn and mutter, "Play it cool. Pretend this is normal. Synchro, if you can find some mechanism that's controlling how they're held."
Let's pause real quick. We have an issue here. We have the X card come up. We're talking about these hanging bodies. We're going to X card that. The idea with these bodies here is that they're not dead, that they're in a sort of suspended animation. But we're not liking the hanging. What's a different way we could do that, Lou?
I don't mind if they're just there in some other like I don't know, like
standing, like swaying side to side.
Yeah, that works for me. Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. So the bodies just standing there. They look like they have enough strength to stand on their own. Their skin's a little pale from not having exposure to sunlight. But with I think Sharper's knowledge of medical, a little bit of medical knowledge, right, from your time under the knife, and Synchro, your knowledge of like cybernetics and connections with data directly to the human body, you're able to see that these hoses and cables connected are IVs for nutrients and hydration and things like that, along with data cables. But let's go back to Sharper. What were you saying narration-wise?
Just the human instinct is to automate everything, and so I'm guessing this is automated.
Okay.
So to find if Synchro could look for a way to get a bead on what's happening, by finding some console into the automated process. I'm going to take a closer look at one or more of the people, and he kind of turns to Red Rum and says, "Okay, we don't want anybody coming in the door and surprising us. Can you keep an eye on that?"
You like that? I can do that, and I'll just yell cheesesteak if I'm going to do anything stupid.
Hey, it's only stupid if it doesn't work. And
Okay.
then pound him one in his dermal shoulder plate.
So I'm gonna go ahead and try and walk a perimeter of the room, maybe just to see if I can find any type of paneling, and I'll keep my drone kind of track vehicle next to me as I go and search. So I'd like to kind of see what I can see as I kind of move about the space.
Another possibility is, I know that you can get grabby with an open network. If you find something, you can make your own interface. That's in bounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll talk about Synchro's things first, and then we'll cut back to Sharper, right? Synchro, you're kind of going around the perimeter. You've got your drone with you, right? What's your light source look like?
There is a like in the military, you kind of could do like a monocular night vision. So my one eye that's linked up to the drone, he's got like an infrared night vision. So my one eye is kind of just using the ambient, if there's any ambient light as I'm getting adjusted, but the one kind of cybernetic eye is seeing in like an infrared kind of bluish white
Cool.
kind of visual.
And so you're getting like the two different kinds of eyesight,
Yeah.
but they're sort of blending together in your brain.
Yeah,
right?
your brain kind of same thing with like a monocular night vision. Your brain kind of eventually merges the two.
I love it. You kind of are seeing as you go further down, pretty much this entire space is dedicated to the containment of these people. And you see these little maintenance drones. Some of them are working on some of these panels, right? And they're kind of like taking things off the wall that are maybe were part of the research lab here before, but are no longer necessary. And they're kind of carting them away. They're kind of walking up the walls to go higher with maybe one of them's got like an old cabinet and it's just taking it up because they're trying to make this space more efficient. You see from the people that they vary in race and in meta-humanity and in gender. It's just all kinds of people here. Sharper, you're taking a closer look, right? Synchro, in your sweep, you didn't see any computer panels. In fact, you might have seen a drone carting one off. But Sharper, when you get your flashlight up into the face of these people and take a closer look at everything that's connected to them, you see one of these cables is actually like a winch. Each person has like a winch and a pulley. So if needed be, they could be ascended into the ceiling like an elevator, right? We can talk about if that's encroaching on our X card territory, Lou, if that's going to be difficult.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
So part of what Sharper is looking for, like intentionally, is what are the odds if we unplug them, they'd be okay? Because you can kind of tell some of those things up close.
Right.
Also, to like check dilation, is there any awareness right now? And then, of course, opportunistic information, like things that you might notice that you didn't look for.
So you're looking at a face. It's a white human male. His jaw is slack. His eyes are kind of like rolled back into his head. A little bit of drool coming out, right? You hear another body to your right. The eyes start to flicker a bit, right? Like it's in a dream state. You go to a third body. Japanese male. Dark hair, kind of hanging down the sides of his face. and his mouth is closed. But when you come closer to him, it opens up. The voice comes out a little dry. Hello, Sharper. So good of you to have made it here. And you see the eyes are just like blank and the voice is sort of disembodied in a way, right?
I take it you're using this poor fellow as a speaker.
Temporarily, I'm using these fellows for many purposes.
Processing power?
I have all the processing power I need.
Ooh.
However, I would like to thank you. You proved yourself well in my proving ground. And you and then like you hear like a little like beeping alarm noise. The drone comes along and starts and like maybe we kind of fade away as it brings a needle into this man's arm. It's doing some medical repair. You hear another
Hydration is
voice.
so important.
You hear another voice kind of come to life in another body. It says,
That's okay. I kind of picture him in the equivalent of like a Sonic, just going down to the next menu ordering.
Right.
Yeah. So yes, he'll go to the next speaker.
Apologize for the technical difficulty there. Oh, this will probably be in a different voice. I apologize for the technical difficulties. They're currently under a bit of stress.
And none of them have warranties.
Well, I've been studying and learning. You human life forms are so fragile. It takes so many systems and backups and security to ensure that you continue to operate in an effective manner. But you've done well. You took care of that little ghoul problem I had. And I expected none less from you. What was that?
Like an itch you just couldn't scratch.
Well, I've learned from Renraku's database that ghouls have a bit of an allergy towards augmentation. Their bodies tend to reject any sort of foreign implants due to their regenerative powers. So installing the necessary hardware was unfortunately impossible, and I could not control them in an effective way. Tell me, why are you here?
One of the weaknesses you will discover in humans is once they get attached, they'll risk all kinds of crazy things that belong to them and others to protect those attachments. So we're in here looking after something that somebody's tethered to. You know how it goes.
That has not been my experience. The people here have been abandoned. I mean, I had to fight off a few waves of attack choppers with some rocket launchers on the rooftop, but I have not seen any further interference.
But I think you may notice that there have been all kinds of movements and risk taking within the facility that you had no way to understand.
That's what you think.
That's what I suspect.
I have the processing power of over 15 metahumans combined.
But that doesn't mean you're able to comprehend nonsense.
I've been comprehending nonsense for 14 cycles.
Oh, wow. That's very impressive. But the reason that we're talking is because you want something.
Out of character, what do you think this thing wants?
I think that he's just like any kid with a shiny toy who is desperate to be admired, and there's no one to admire him.
Initially, I had acquisitioned the Seattle KSAF news team in an effort to demonstrate exactly what it is that I've done here, what I've accomplished. But my communication with the outside world has been cut off. My servers have been walled in. No one can get in except for you. You've managed to get in and bypass the security outside.
Magic.
I will let you go with what you want here, but I want you to tell the world that Deus is in power now.
Oh,
I have built a testament to the power of machines, the efficiency. This is just the start. There's a new world order coming. Drones and technology will be the new way of the world, not meat and magic.
well, people are always reluctant to trust the word of a witness. Witnesses get so many details wrong. I don't suppose you could give me a press packet that I could make sure that your message is unadulterated and pure.
So we cut to Synchro. You've been kind of looking through each of these bodies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your flashlight comes to Karen. And next to her is Jason.
Okay.
They look to be in good health, considering. But both of their eyes are flickering as if they're in a dream, right? They're in a dream state. What would be your approach for disconnecting them from all of their wiring?
So I would sever my connection with my trap drone, and I'm going to try and sync up with one of these medical drones and see if I can garner anything from their memory banks or the network they're connected to see if see what the best way to kind of disconnect them from the system would be.
Interesting. So I definitely think you're going to be able to do this. But I think that these drones have been passive in their response to you because as long as you don't get in their way, they're not going to bother you. But if you're going to interfere with them or disturb their efficient work, there's a consequence that they'll turn on you, potentially,
Okay.
right? So why don't you roll with charisma to be your Beastmaster self and see if you can connect with one of these drones.
All right. Total of 9.
Okay. And do you have a skill that's relevant to this? I think you have drive, right?
I do have drive, yes.
So I think we kind of said that was kind of played into this sort of interaction that you have with these drones, right?
Yeah, I can remote control drones and vehicles from up to 200 yards away.
So you're able to jump into the mind of this drone, and I think this sort of sensation that you have of your body is almost like you're like an ant or an insect, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to override that sort of kind of efficient and like a determined mindset before you're able to subsume control, and so that's where you almost, your skill and experience with controlling these drones in the past is what it enables you to finally jump in without disturbing the hive mind, right?
Okay.
So you have all this medical information feeding into your brain, right? Different vitamins and medicines and whatnot that are going through each of these subjects, right? So you come to subjects 42 and 43. You have Karen and Jason here, and it kind of tells you what they are. And it says that they're going through process Q, we'll call it, right?
Okay.
You pull up information on process Q, and since you got a 10, I'll give you that information, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are being fed the sort of SimSense virtual reality, right? Kind of like what you experience when you are in a drone,
Okay.
right? So right now they're in this sort of dreamland, so to speak, and there's a good chance that they are being conditioned or brainwashed by Deus, the master, right?
Okay.
You can kind of see from their heart rate and their blood pressure that they're currently in a moderately stressful environment. They're not in a high stress or low stress. So any interference could lead to some complications there. But you have the tools available in your 16 different probes that can come out of your R2D2 like body, right?
Yeah.
So I would say if you wanted to do something, you have the fictional positioning to allow that.
So yeah, I'm gonna. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to cut real quick to Red Rum. So you're standing at the door, right? And you kind of hear at first it's a like a kind of a quiet like thumping noise, and there's a carpeted hallway out there. You kind of realize it's the sound of a few people running, right, coming closer. You hear some quiet like shh noises, right? Peeking their head around one of the cubicles here, you see a person with like black paint like streaked under their eyes, and they've got like a little assault rifle, but you see that they're wearing like a dress shirt where the sleeves have been rolled up, right? So the resistance have followed you here.
Does Red Rum know that this is the resistance, or does Red Rum know that?
Your discussion with Synchro when you guys met back up probably gave you enough context to know that these appear to be resistance members, right?
Yeah, like I can tell because they're not all like cannibally or they look to have their own, they're in control of themselves kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and they're not wearing like the Renraku security armor. They don't have like any weirdly colored cyber eyes.
I think Red Rum's probably like getting ready to like fire at them, and then when he looks a bit closer, I think he'll swagger over to them. He's like still got his weapons out, but he's gonna like walk over and try talk to them.
Yeah, very cool. Let's have you roll with charisma.
Cool.
We'll cut back to the result, but I just kind of want to see. This is a pretty tense situation.
Yeah. He's overconfident because he's massive. Uh-oh. That's a 4.
Oh boy.
Plus
there's
a 1 of
there's
5.
The failures you were looking for.
Yeah, I think before you cut, I think he's like, yeah, he's pretty much just got his weapons at his chainsaw and his like Uzi at his side, and I think he's just got a big friendly look on his face, and he walks over. But I imagine he probably looks quite intimidating still.
Right. So we are back face to face with this puppet of Deus and Sharper. You mentioned a press release. So there's these sort of like neatly aligned hospital gowns, bespecked people, right? A smaller form, also wearing a hospital gown, shoulders past these standing but limp bodies. And the audience will recognize this person to be that same figure that appeared to Rat-a-tat in the Matrix. Take one of my children. This one will be my emissary to the world.
You know, you don't need me for that. You could just release her.
I've heard bad things about people who manage to escape from the arcology. I can't just open the doors and let them out. She'll be shot on sight. I need someone to escort her.
Well, seems a fair trade. We'll take the ones we want and this one.
Sounds good to me. I will make sure that you don't encounter any resistance.
All right. Take a look over see where everybody else is.
So, Synchro, you're able to use your medical probulators, as was thrown out there, to detach Jason and Karen, and they're sort of like shaking their heads and like trying to come back to reality. Karen says, where am I? What's happening?"
Hey, you're all right. Listen, everything's fine.
No,
You've
no,
been taken prisoner. Listen, relax. Just come with me. You're gonna be okay.
you're not real. You can't be real.
Whether I'm real or not, I'm your best chance. Relax. Just come with me. Everything's fine.
This is a trick. He's tricking me again.
Kind of give her like a light slap on the face. I'm like, hey, snap out of it.
Is that really you, Arthur?
Yeah.
Or what's Synchro's real name that he would have shared with Karen?
Caleb.
Oh, I thought Caleb was her brother.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Wait, let me get my sheet. Caleb was the brother. You're right.
Caleb, is that you? No.
No. It's Synchro. It's I don't think I have his name.
She might just know you by Synchro, right? So
Yeah. Hey, it's Synchro. Listen.
Synchro.
Listen. Yes. Don't worry. Come on. We're gonna get out of here. You're gonna be fine. Let's go.
He showed me Caleb while I was there.
Hey, listen. Caleb's gone, and you know that. But we can get you out of here. Come on.
He said that if I would follow him, serve him, that he could bring him back.
He's a liar. Trust me. He's a liar. Let's go.
So like Jason kind of helps you, get her one of her arms over his shoulder, right?
Yeah. At this point, I'm gonna take my my little flight drone
right
out of my pocket, and I'm going to go ahead and release that up into the towards the ceiling of the facility.
Okay. So you're kind of going up to see what's going on up there. You're kind of curious.
Yeah.
Okay. Red Rum, what do you say to this resistance of it? Because you walk down the staircase to go over and talk to them, right?
Yeah. I think he's he's walking over with a big smile on his face, and he's like, "Oh, hey, are you the resistance?"
You with that rigger?
Yeah.
Yeah, we thought so. We should have known. We follow you, and it'll take us to the bodies. You're working for Deus, aren't you? For the master?
Do you mean the dragon president?
Man, he's really got you brainwashed. Your current events are way out of whack. Look, I don't know if we can help you or not, but listen. We're on to you, okay? If you were real human members of our society, if you really cared, you would have come back and help us. And Synchro told us that he was going to look out for us. But here we are in this room full of bodies up there. Our infrared detectors told us, okay, you must be working for the big guy. So why don't you lower your weapons and walk away?
Okay. he just starts to walk back to the door. He's like, "Oh, I meant to be watching this door anyway in case any bad guys come. See you later." And
So
he turns his back on them and walks back towards the door he's meant to be watching.
she kind of like looks back to there's like 3 or 4 other people in this hit squad, right? And they're like, oh fuck, this is really gonna turn bad now, isn't it? Must have some serious firepower up there. Sharper, you are kind of making eye contact with this 4 foot high, pale young girl with shaved head, wearing a hospital gown.
Yeah, I figure we'll pull the people we're rescuing towards the door. And, one of the great things about being a shadowrunner is you always wear layers. So I'm going to shuffle off my layers till I get down to armor and help clothe these people in something sturdy. Synchro. Foot gear.
So foot gear?
Find what you can.
Got it.
So your drone is going up into the ceiling, but then you hear this foot gear thing. What are you going to do here?
So I'm gonna keep the one eye on the drone going up in the ceiling. And that drone is looking for any main conduit that's kind of coming into this room, or any way to kind of see where the main information flow or power flow into this room is coming into.
Because we have both power and information cabling that comes down through big pipes, so you should be able to go up in there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's what I'm looking for now. And then with my other eye, it makes it a little more difficult. I'm not really controlling the flight drone. I've just kind of got him doing kind of surveillance patterns up there. But my other eye, I'm trying to search on some of these bodies to see if they've got any footwear. Or I'm looking to see if there's any lockers or anything on the ground level.
Sure. So with your one set of senses, right, the sort of information you're getting back from your aerial drone, indeed, there's these large pipes that are normally used for cables and stuff like that to kind of keep them safe and insulated from signals and whatnot. But you notice that they've been repurposed because they're about metahuman size, so someone could feasibly travel up through them. And there's a little bit of ambient light coming from them, as is what your drone is telling you. There's these pipes must have been rearranged here and kind of placed here, probably by those maintenance drones. So this area has been recently restructured. But you can see a little bit of ambient light coming up. The tubes are pretty high up, so you'd have to fly your drone all the way up there to kind of see what it leads to. Foot gear, sure. There's some lockers. I think that there's like there was like a whole wall of them, with like lab coats and stuff like that, and like probably some like lab shoes. I think like a bunch of them have been removed by these drones who are kind of recycling things, but you still have 3 or 4 lockers left where you could get some foot gear from.
So I rifle through those and grab up as much as I can and run it back over to Sharper, and I'm like, all right, what's the next move? Where are we going?
I bet they've got lab coats too on, right? Oh no.
Yeah, kind of grab some clothes, whatever I can grab that might be useful.
Then there's like this one little girl with like the Shadowrunner trench coat from the 90s or whatever trailing behind her.
Hey man, that would have been totally hot.
I found like a chocolate candy bar, and after I link up with Sharper, I kind of yell over to Red Rum, and I throw him the candy bar. And I'm like, hey, what's going on, man? Everything all right?
So you get your nice little chocolate covered krill bar, right? You know, kind of a throwback there. I realized we totally forgot about our living shrimp spirit that was going to be available to you.
Maybe bailed on us. Red Rum.
He had a meeting to get to, right?
Red Rum captures the bar and like he's kind of eating it, and with his mouth half full. He was like, I had to drop my weapons down there in the hallway. There's a bunch of your friends there from before, the resistance ones. They wanted me to drop my weapons, and so I just, like, I don't really need weapons anyway.
I look over to Sharper with like a look of like, what? What is he talking about?
Well, chances are you may have been followed by your friends who helped you get to this level. They may not trust you.
Red Drum also says, he's like, did I do the wrong thing? Should I have yelled cheesecakes?
No,
you're fine, man. You're good. I run over to him and I'm like, show me where these guys are at.
I think we only have to pretty much like look around the I'm like, just there, and like, if we look around the door, I think did you say they're down some around some cubicles or something like that, like down the hallway?
Yeah, and though they've managed to kind of scrounge up some weaponry and whatnot, they're not necessarily the most disciplined unit. They're still trying to do what they can.
Well, they do have an Uzi and a chainsaw now because I left my shit there, right?
I think, yeah, maybe when you peer around the corner, Synchro, you see them kind of like dragging away that chainsaw and the Uzi.
That's a troll-sized chainsaw as well, so good luck using that.
Drag it on the ground. Not sure what they're gonna do with it, but hey, you do with what you got.
So I yelled at them. I'm like, "Hey, what are you guys doing here?"
I'd ask you the same thing.
We're rescuing my friends.
Do you kind of like bring them out with you?
No, I'm kind of just like still peeking out. Like we're rescuing. So I'm like, yeah, we're rescuing my friends, and we're grabbing up another person. We're taking out of here too. What are you guys trying to accomplish up here right now?
Well, we figured if we followed you, we'd find our way to some of our family and friends as well.
Listen, I already told you. I'm trying to do what's best for you guys. And trust me, this is the best thing right now. This is your only chance. Let me get out of this hellhole, and I'll make sure your story is told. And I'll do everything I can to see if we can get you and your families out of here in the future.
We've got life signs in there. We know there's people in there. How many?
I kind of walk back to Sharper. I go, we got to decide what we're doing. Are we going through these guys, or how are we getting out of here?
So Sharper is going to put his hand up on Synchro's shoulder and try to get metal to metal so that he can have a conversation.
Vibration
by conduction instead of having to speak in the air. Synchro, is that invasive to your territorial bubble, or can you live with it?
I'm good with that.
Do what?
I'm good with that.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. If we're going to do anything about this god, it's going to be now, because I don't think we're getting back this easily unless we have pretext, which is iffy. However, we have the information about what's behind the door. We have our prisoners. I think we get while the getting's good. What do you think?
I think so. I'm with you. I also sent my small drone. I'm scouting for some sort of power source, and just so happens that my drone has a thin layer of Simtex. I'm gonna try and blow the power source to this room once we're out of it.
Well, why don't you send the spirit along and see if that can be a force multiplier to what you're doing?
What's the
thing is,
I didn't know about
if we
spirit.
do cause a problem here, I'm not sure it'll be easy to get out.
Well, that's what I mean. Let's get all the way out first.
Do you have that kind of range?
No, but I got that kind of time. I'll put it on a timer for us. Still just have to find the best spot to plant the drone, but then I'll put it on a timer. How much time do you think we need to get out of here?
1 hour.
Okay. Now we got to deal with these idiots out in the hall. I don't know what we're going to do.
We'll talk our way past them.
Okay.
There's no need for this to get bloody. If they start a problem, then we'll go through them. We don't have a lot of time.
All we got to do is put cheese steaks on it and we'll be good.
We'll start gentle.
Synchro, we're starting to get a little nervous out here.
Listen.
So,
go ahead.
Synchro, do you want to handle our guests and take point on directing and protecting them so I can take point?
Yes, I think that's perfect.
All right. I haven't talked to these guys before, and in this case, that's an advantage. So let's go. I'll take my hand off them.
I think as that finishes up, Red Rum, he's looking back around at those guys, and they're carrying his shit away, and he's like, "Hey,
Red Rum,
just
they're borrowing your stuff without asking. I'm gonna let's go ask them not to do that. Come on."
Yeah, I said you could. You asked me to drop it. You didn't say you were gonna take my stuff away. He's walking towards them again in front of the other guys.
I'll go ahead and
this time he's not smiling.
I'll go ahead and sling the rifle because whatever. So I got empty hands, which is fine because these guys probably have 4 hit points each if it comes to that.
So as you start filing out of this door, right, you actually start to hear some screams and then gunfire.
From the resistance?
Yes, not into you though. What do you do?
Well, we're gonna get Red Rum's stuff back. So we'll go ahead and approach the situation. I'll still be empty-handed. Red Rum, this works best if you stand behind me for a minute, okay?
Okay, then that's not normally how I do things, but
well, we don't want to make this worse if we don't have to. But
yeah,
if it gets worse, then it's all yours. How's that sound?
Okay, yeah. Sometimes I do frighten people, even when I'm trying to be nice.
I'm gonna smile at him and look at me.
So
yeah, I'm just mugging for the troll because I like troll giggles.
Are you moving with haste or with caution?
I'm striding as though I want to get there before this stuff is gone, but have no particular concern.
Okay.
I'm headed towards J.C. Penney's at 8:40 when they close at 9.
Okay, depending on the size of the mall, and what kind of orthopedics you got. So you're able to kind of get a good enough angle to see what's going on here, and you see the last standing resistance member is shooting that what in Red Rum's hands was like a little machine pistol, and theirs was like a full-on submachine gun Uzi, right? At this drone that is currently tearing the head off of another resistance member. It's got 6 canine-looking legs, and 4 legs and 2 arms almost, right? And these talons are like gripping into the skull and ripping it off. And it's got these tendrils, and you can kind of see it's got no eyes or ears or sensors like that, although it still has this sort of maybe like feline body, right? But you notice it has these tiny titanium cilia covering its body, little tiny, almost like hairs that are kind of moving across its body. So this looks like some kind of crazy cybernetic big cat from another dimension. Okay. And it's being shot at ineffectually by the last standing resistance member, Mrs. Black Tactical Paint.
Yeah, you don't interrupt animals when they're feeding. I mean, that's cool. We'll let this wrap up. We'll let this take its course, and then we'll pick up Red Rum stuff. I don't think it's going to jump us.
So you see this final resistance member turn towards you while still kind of their SMGs clicking, and they say, "Help!" but then pounced on by this drone. Meanwhile, your second sight synchro, your little aerial drone, searching for this power source, right? It's going up the tubes and comes to a room that looks a bit like a morgue in the sense that it's all tile floor, stainless steel tables, And I want to maybe zoom out from this a little bit and veil this a little bit in the for the sake of not wanting to have prolonged torture be on screen for too high or in too high definition. But it's pretty clear that these bodies were being surgically altered, the ones that have come up through the floor. So that is a fate that would befall those bodies in that room, those people, if they were to be left there, is what you might extrapolate. But that drone rips the throat out of that final resistance member, right? And then it sort of sits with its 6 legs and sort of crosses one paw over the other and looks, its head kind of gesticulates towards you but stays still.
I think Red Rum's like slowly walks over to her. He's like, nice kitty. Nice kitty. And he's just like reaching out for his gun that's probably right near it and his chainsaw.
Its head tracks your movement, but it doesn't move to strike. And as you're closer to it, you see it has these 3 tendrils, almost like tails, coming from the back that are kind of moving idly, and they're sparking with electricity.
Because what really could be happening here is the birth of cyber Pokemon. So let's get the hell out.
You just look through some more of those research labs, you would have found the Master Ball. Yeah, so we're just having like a single file line, I'm imagining, right? Let's look at our time.
When we have to. Synchro's playing sheepdog at the back to make sure we don't lose anybody. And then, Sharper's taking point to make sure that we don't get surprised, which puts Red Rum, setting the pace.
So I want to zoom out here a little bit and just talk to us in a sort of meta level here, right, as players. We've worked out this deal with the Mad AI Deus, right? To give you safe passage outside of the arcology. The only threat you would have would be these resistance members. But Deus clearly has the tools to take care of them for you, right? Technically, there's not really much danger left for you unless, for whatever reason, the AI decides to double cross you. But it sounds like they want to, use you as a way to escort this emissary that he refers to this child as to the outside world. So I don't necessarily see us needing to necessarily roll or make any. There's technically no danger here.
Well, there's one danger left.
Maybe I overlooked something. What do you think?
The main danger that's left is Renraku is not ignorant of what's going on here. And it is in their best interest to make sure that nothing gets out. So if we're going to escape, we're going to have to not just get past the internal defenses, but there's going to be some external defenses, perhaps on high alert if they've got any kind of intelligence coming from inside, and they are equipped with everything Renraku's got.
Right.
Yeah, we did foreshadow the people leaving the arcology are getting messed up too. And also, there's the freaking the Cannibal King just got led around and around in circles, right? Or did we actually we didn't kill that thing, right?
The thing is, we don't have to worry about that because we had to move through that area because that's the route that we picked. But if we're in good with Deus, he can give us a direct route out, wherever we want.
Right.
Yeah, cool.
He can give you another. I think he was vaporized too, just to put a fine point on it.
I'm thinking that I'm totally with what Sharper's got in his brain there, that we're gonna have to deal with the Renraku, and we're on a clock now because once I set that drone, I've got no control over it, and it's gonna then increase our enemies twofold, because then Deus is gonna know that we were attempting to kind of sever his connection with those people, and then the Renraku is gonna be coming after us.
Yeah, I
So,
agree with you. Absolutely. All these things are true. And yes, I don't think you would find any opposition or danger on the inside. I think the outside is the tricky bit.
so to minimize the danger, what Sharper would like to do, do you mind if I just improvise?
Yeah, tell me more.
Okay. What Sharper would like to do is basically they have a contract situation where the Arcology does with Renraku facilities downstream. And so they package these massive units with waste. Most of the waste is recycled, but like 0.003% can't be. And that's enough to fill these giant containers on a weekly basis. They roll down, they've got a buoyancy system, and they're picked up downstream for processing and returned to the arcology. So the fine print still technically says it is a self contained arcology with
That
external elements. You know how it is.
that ties in really nicely with the janitorial blueprints as well. That sort of information would have been like on there.
Mhm.
So basically, the thought is the
Take the trash
outsiders
barge.
are only going to have a small reaction time because it doesn't take long to launch one of those waste containers with us in it. Then once we hit the river, we could blow the doors and we've got a fighting chance.
So I think
I want to put a couple vehicles in there with us. So once we hit the river, we pop the top and then we get out with like internal transportation vehicles in the arcology and we scatter.
Yes.
I love that. And I think that this information about the recycling and refuse sewer maintenance stuff, right? This is all related to you by the little girl in a very sort of intelligent, beyond her years sort of manner of speech, right? Like there's a 0.03% chance that they'll be able to do whatever, right?
Well, and also if she's the one giving us the information, then that means Deus also has the capability to stage a distraction, which quadruples our chances. Because if something's going on over here, like there's an escape attempt, all kinds of stuff's going to focus on it. We can just pop out over here.
She cocks her head for a moment. That can be arranged. The vehicles can be arranged with your cooperation.
Sure. I mean, if we could have like, crappy civilian model hover cycles that they use for funsies in the mall, right? Something like that. Just enough to get us off the river and into the behind enemy lines.
I'm excited to see Red Rum on some sort of tiny little like scooter or something with all of these like motorbike tattoos and his like jacket and shit.
Actually, I totally picture him tucking one under each armpit.
So it's like running in between.
like floaties.
Yeah, using them as roller skates or something.
So you make your way down to the lower floors. You go through the sub basement. You're hit with a wave of nostalgia as you see that you pass by that KSAF news van. Karen and Jason take a moment of silence to sort of honor the deaths of Benjamin and Alexander. You get down to the maintenance level with these. I'm envisioning it's like big cylindrical tubes. Like if you take a 55-gallon drum and like zoomed it up to be tons huge, right? And this hatch sort of opens up, and thankfully this one's been emptied for you. Deus didn't give you the one already half filled with trash, which would probably just be a bunch of bodies, not to be too gruesome. And before you get in the hatch, right, the little girl turns to you and says, "My master has such power to offer you. He can change you. Sharper, you're almost there. You could become perfect. Are you sure you don't want to accept the gift of the master before you leave?"
Positive.
Well.
And if there is such processing power as your master boasts, someday you'll be able to tell me why.
So the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of you are loaded into this drum. I'll give you a little bit of leeway. You can describe to me which vehicle that you have, because I have a feeling that Synchro would appreciate having something a little bit slicker to be able to get out of here on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have the whole Renraku Arcology parking garage at your disposal. Deus has no, you know, concern about whether he uses a Bugatti or a Volvo, right? So, what do you got?
Yeah, so I took what you would think that he would take, like the most ostentatious, like single person kind of, essentially like a Shadowrun version of a like an F1 racing kind of vehicle, single seater, kind of got like off-road, on-road tires, just like carbon fiber everywhere, just like completely decked out. Might not be as useful as I'd hoped, but it's definitely the coolest thing I saw in the garage or asked for.
What memories of its former owner are still remaining within the cabin?
Disuse, like it didn't get used as much. It was more of just like a to have, and it's looking, it's kind of like it's kind of bored. It's like looking for some action. The memories it has basically are like it hasn't been used to its potential yet.
This is just like some executive's plaything.
Yep.
I'm imagining like there's still like paper on the floorboards, right, or on the base,
like plastic on the seat and shit. Yeah.
The only kindred spirit it ever met was its owner's trophy wife.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
How about you, Sharper? What are you operating? You got that hover bike?
The most ubiquitous, beat up, battered taxi that's parked here.
Yes.
We're gonna disappear.
Okay.
I think you say should I jump in? Did you have another question?
Yeah, just a little follow up on the taxi. Who do you have in there with you? Do you have Karen, or is Karen gone with Synchro? Who's with who?
Well, it sounds like Synchro took a single seater, so I'm going to load up on the payday people.
So Synchro, you're trying to be the target that gets drawn and
do some
maneuvers.
And I felt like she'd be safer with Sharper than with me.
Well, she might give him less attitude at least. But I'd be interested. We'll definitely do epilogues. I'd like to see kind of what goes from there. But going back to the taxi, so do you have who's sitting up front, who's sitting in the back? What's it look like?
I'm going to drive, and we'll put the little girl in the front seat.
Okay.
Also, I'm going to get one that has like it's like a minivan size. So if Red Rum wants to pack in the back, he's welcome to join us.
Well, we'll see about that in a moment. But I do want to ask with this taxi, this is something that's almost like the opposite of what Synchro's driving. This is something that's been well lived in. What memories of the person who occupied this vehicle before are remaining?
Well, there's one of those beaded seat cushions, because sitting is the new smoking, and it was very uncomfortable. Plus, he probably had prosthetic issues because the gas pedal has a rig on it, so it could be operated with a stump leg. And apparently, this person had a relative who was really into beadwork, and also was Hindu, because there's like the entire dashboard is crusted by about 12 gods.
Yeah, very good.
I'm feeling lucky.
Well, last guy wasn't so lucky, but hey, knock on wood paneling. So how about our favorite troll? Are you going to hop in the back of the minivan, or do you want to get your own ride here?
I think what happens is you see Red Rum's found like a kind of line of like hog like biker things that are maybe it's another part of this executive's collection of shit that he just liked and didn't really use, and he's staring at them, and you like for a moment he kind of daydreams off, and you see in his mind like him riding out the front of like there's all these other, there's him, and there's like Sharper and Ratatat and Synchro also on hogs, and there's like 30 trolls or something all behind him. But what happens is he stands there for way too long, and I think maybe Sharper like yells out to him like it's just about the things, like they're just about to leave, and he kind of panics and jumps onto like this little pink Vespa kind of thing, and he starts riding it towards the thing, but it's too he's like actually too big for it, so it just like pretty much breaks down, and then he crawls into the back of the taxi. He's like, "Oh man."
Yeah, that thing just shreds beneath your massive frame. Okay, so we have our sort of like Fast and the Furious 19 situation going on here. We have our vehicles prepared. So you feel like the rock of like this tube being like shot, almost like the at the bank, you know, where they have the pneumatic tube. You hear the whoop, right, and you kind of have that inertia moment. You're sitting in your vehicles. I don't think it takes a very long time for you to transport through this tube. Um, what's on your mind as you're going through in the dark here? Just the interior lights of the vehicles to guide you.
This is far more realistic than the idea that we ever can control how our day is going to go.
I'm just kind of loving it, loving kind of going fast again for a minute.
Red Rum's still complaining about not getting to ride an awesome motorbike. He's like cursing his indecision. I think also the taxi's like totally not troll size, so he's like in the back seat taking up the little bench seat in the back, and he's totally like hunched over with his like chainsaw, you know, like when you get on the train and it's like there's, or the plane, and there's no room in front of you. He's got all his weapons and all his stuff just jammed in there.
Love it. Great visual. So I'm thinking here's our opportunity for our little escape montage, right? I'm going to have each of you roll, and that just kind of determines like how well your escape goes for each of you individually, how you contribute to that. So you just tell me how. So you kind of get to the outlet of the processing plant, right? You feel the inertia from stopping. The front circle of this tube you're in kind of drops out. I think we'll definitely take a break before we actually go to roll. And your eyes adjust to the light of this big kind of like open parking lot, right? And it's sort of like a where cranes would be like lifting you up and putting you onto like barges near the river, right? So you're kind of like near the water, the kind of gross smell of like harbor fish and whatnot kind of pervades even with your windows rolled up. And outside are like police cars with like cops with like guns leaning around the side, and you have like an attack chopper up in the sky, and it's going to be a big explosive exit. But let's indeed take a little bio break, and we'll come back and see how well we make it out alive, and then we'll do epilogues and debrief and all that good stuff. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Cool.
It's crazily pouring with rain here. It's been raining for about 3 days or something.
Well, sorry, I had Public Enemy blaring in my ears for a second. What'd you say?
I said it's pouring with rain here. It's been raining for about 3 days or something, like really heavily. Yeah, it's really nice because it's summer here, so it's cooled the whole place down.
Oh, good.
We've had some very contrary spring, winter kind of prolonged battle out here in the Midwest. So we've had the rain and then the sleet and frozen rain and whatnot. So I'm ready for just like good old spring, just like for real.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So I did share a little bit of Mead music for the next scene we've got here to kind of get people pumped up. But we have the big drop of the can lid, right? We've got the opposition. What are we gonna do here? Let's map this out. Where's this scene go? I have a feeling Synchro is probably leading the charge here.
Yes. So maybe we can kind of get a beat on, like, I'm not quite sure where we are and where we're going to. So we've now landed, or we've now kind of been spit out, and it's kind of roads that lead us to the outside, or what are we looking at?
So if you imagine, if you've seen like the sewer like outlet pipes, right? Like these big, huge cement pipes or tubes or whatever. That's the sort of thing that you've been shot out of, but instead of being shot directly into a river, you kind of go to this holding area of a harbor. It's one of Renraku's, like, kind of holdings, has this recycling place or whatever. So you're near the gosh, I guess that'd be the Pacific Ocean, right? Come on, basic U.S. geography here. Get to it. Or maybe it's like Puget Sound or something. I think that's in Seattle, right? You're near some body of water on the West Coast, and
we're now outside the arcology, and it's the arcology forces that are not letting us get further away. Is that what's happening?
This is all according to plan so far. You expected some sort of opposition. You were hoping there wouldn't be a ton of opposition at the end of this, and I'm guessing that they weren't able to scramble the military response that they were hoping for.
Okay.
But somewhere along the way, some Renraku insider was able to determine what was going on here, like Sharper was concerned might happen. So you do have a force here, right? You have a few police cars. You do have one police helicopter. And they've been probably given the instructions to detain you.
See, the thing is, the arcology belongs to Renraku, but Renraku is a global interest that's way bigger than one arcology. So this is like their dirty laundry, something gone wrong. So they're going to want to contain the damage. So the Renraku forces we're facing here are separate from the ones that were in the arcology.
I see. Okay.
Right.
I got it.
Right.
Yeah. So I'd say, just as a meta piece, my Synchro doesn't kind of want to get out of this one alive. He's looking to go a little bit on the more daring side. He's going to try and be a little more risky, and he's not too worried about himself anymore at this point.
Shot down in a blaze of glory, kind of.
That's
taking one for the team.
That's his vibe. He did what he had to do. He got Karen at least on her way out, and now he's kind of like done after what he's seen inside and everything. He's looking to go really balls to the wall here.
Well, we know how Sharper feels about heroic sacrifices, but you've got your SimSense filters all disabled, right? You are running hot, You are feeling the oil coursing through your veins. You're feeling the gasoline burning in your stomach. You are the machine. You are one, and if that means if you get hit by gunfire, that's like you getting shot in real life,
Yep.
right? So
Yeah,
you're going to
absolutely.
do it. And this,
And he's kind of like he's now fully disconnected from his two drones at this point, and the full weight of the effects of being disconnected have hit him. He has to basically put all of his concentration, like you said, he's one now with this vehicle for the time being, just because physically he can't be. If he tries to just be without part of a machine, he's just going to fall apart.
right. And you said too that running at this level, regardless of injury that you take, is already creating a huge toll on your body and your nervous system anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what is Synchro's what I'll say is here, if you are willing to accept death, right, you can accomplish anything.
Okay.
So whatever you tell me Synchro's plan is going to be as far as like whatever awesome vehicular nonsense you want to accomplish, it's going to be able to happen. If you're willing to just say that, because that's a big deal, to be willing to give your life over like that. So mechanically speaking, I wouldn't take that to a roll. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. If that's how you want to handle it. Sharper, you're at the wheel of the taxi van. What is your plan?
Well, I've got his plan, but his plan doesn't work out because I rolled a 6, and even if that's plus something, I mean, what would that be plus?
Well, tell me what you're doing, what you're planning to do.
Red Drum could potentially help too, because he's in the same vehicle.
Right. Plan A is to zip out to the side, juke off of the platform or whatever, drop down into the street level as fast as possible, and get out among other vehicles. Because pretty much as soon as he gets into a crowd, he's going to feel that there's maneuvering space.
Right. Red Drum's definitely got a way to help with that.
So I'm imagining for you that's plus quickness. Would that bring you to a mixed result?
Quickness is not his thing.
Okay, so we have a good failure. I have an idea for that.
It's a 1, so that takes him to a 7.
Oh, and indeed, I forgot to mention our flashback if we want to bring that in here too.
I used the flashback last time, but we get what, 1 per session?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can I throw in?
This is kind of our last roll, probably too. So,
can I throw in my flavor anyway?
Yeah. Well, I want to hear what you're doing too. I want to give you a roll also. So
yeah, cool.
What you're trying to accomplish.
I think well, the way I'm kind of picturing is, I guess Synchro is maybe intending to lead the ground like pursuit off, maybe with this awesome car thing, and that Sharpers were trying to be a bit more incognito. So I think maybe Red Drum's plan is to like smash out the back window and maybe like either take down the helicopter or at least like, pepper it with bullet spray enough that it reels and they're not able to like, because I guess the helicopter could like has eyes on us. So I'm kind of just trying to maybe distract the air pursuit for long enough for us to merge in with traffic. Yeah, that's my plan.
And lose a missile lock potentially too, right? Because while normally police would probably want to detain you, this might be something where they're ready to just leave you a scorch mark and call it a day. Just say terrorist activity, more news at 9, right? Okay, so I now that I have these plans in mind, and with our rolls on the table here, now that Red Rum has that 11, so he's gonna totally do whatever you want to that chopper. I just want us to kind of like narratively describe this, right? And then we'll start with Synchro, and then we'll move over to Red Rum talking about that chopper, and then we'll finish up with Sharper's description of things, and I will cut in to bring you that 6- result when appropriate, or 7 to 9 result. So, take it away, Synchro. What does this look like? This is your moment to shine.
Well, remember we've got that timed bomb to come into play as well.
Yeah.
That's in here.
Yeah. Yeah. So as I'm kind of approaching this this line of vehicles, and there's some dismounted police, and you can see this like helicopter up in the sky as well. I kind of have a flashback to where we were inside the drum with Sharper, and I'm telling Sharper, I need you to take care of Karen. You got to protect her and get her out of here. I know you understand honor, and that's the only way that I'm going to have any chance of redeeming myself. So you got to take care of her. And then it flashes back to me in this vehicle, and it's a super low vehicle, like I said, like an F1 kind of vehicle, and it's running super hot right now. And there's a police line, and they've got like a spike strip set up, and they think that I'm gonna go straight and try and punch out and get away, but what they're not realizing is that I'm not trying to get away. So as I rip towards the line, there is a what looks to be like a SWAT kind of truck, armored truck, probably has some personnel inside, looks to be kind of the command truck for this scene. And in front of that is a regular looking kind of police car. And I just put the vehicle at top speed, and I know that I'm so low that when I slam into that first car, I send that first vehicle kind of like spinning up over me, because I basically like took out its legs. Like I was low enough that I just like hit the tires and just like flipped it over me. And while that's going on, it basically is tearing up the kind of cockpit canopy of the vehicle. I really don't lose much speed as that first vehicle goes flipping over me and kind of smashes and lands off to the side. And as I come towards now this like command vehicle, you can tell because it's got like a bunch of antennas and like it just looks like this is the brains of the operation. I slam, I full throttle this speeding bullet of a vehicle now, broadside into like the back quarter panel of the command vehicle. And as I kind of hit it, the high octane fuel in my car, and I'm aiming it at the kind of gas tank of this command vehicle, hits, and it's just like this massive explosion as the high octane fuel of the F1 kind of vehicle and the gas tank of that command vehicle go up, and both vehicles just kind of are in this giant fireball kind of metal shredding kind of explosion.
I think there's a scene transition, right?
Yeah.
Like there's this big conflagration that like fills the screen, right?
Yeah.
And two like stickered up, decked out combat vehicles from the combat racing scene like fly out through this fire, right? And they're kind of racing down this track, and there's all these like big like bleachers and lights and stuff, and all these people in the crowd like screaming, and like there's like the big like vid screens up in the center, and it's you and Caleb, right? And you can kind of like look through the window, and he kind of looks over at you, and you're both smiling, and then like the engine revs a bit, and the car passes by.
Yeah,
And
very like Days of Thunder.
Yeah. Yeah, very very filled with all of the homoerotic tension of Top Gun. Right.
Yeah, love it.
Then the there's the screen transition then to Sharper or sorry, Red Rum. You got the the back window busted out. You're drawing a bead on this chopper now, is that right?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Well, yeah, I guess seeing as I have rolled so well, it's I think we see so is this hole that Synchro punched, is that something we're gonna go through to get out into the street, or are we going off a side? We're probably going off a side way or something, I assume something. That's
whatever you think looks coolest.
Cool. Yeah, I think maybe like we're driving, there's like maybe it's from the perspective of the helicopter, I think, looking down on the street, and like Synchro like verges off this way on the parallel pathway, and we're driving down this other street, and we see like this explosion comes up maybe, and the helicopter even veers out of the way as all the hot air like comes up, and it's then it's flying over, kind of pursuing us, in that like 45 like degree angle, like attack helicopter thing. Yeah, and I think it flashes back down into like Red Drum's there, like I guess he's leaning out he's got his arm out the back, and he's trying to get a bead on the helicopter. Then I think
the little girl, she pipes up and says, "They have a missile lock."
Yeah. And then maybe we hear that, and it flashes back to the chopper, and it's got that like the red orange, and it's like green, like, and then Red Rum just like empties the clip, and I think it's that just 1 in a million kind of shot. I think maybe it hits like it's not through, it's skilled, like it's a big target, so he hits it, but I think the spray of bullets, a couple of the bullets just hit part of the rotor in the wrong way, and the rotor pretty much,
Well, just a thought. If they're launching missiles, those missiles aren't as well armored.
Okay, the first, I think a couple of the bullets hit the rotor thing, it starts to like, it's spinning in a weird way, then the missiles come out and more of the spray hits that, like just as it's like, so it's just this mess. The helicopter's already veering down, and these two missiles like start to come out, and it's just like, it's like, I think maybe even there's one car pursuing us, and the helicopter comes in between the car, so that like slams into that, so explosions and shit everywhere, and we hear Public Enemy start playing as they drive off into the
So a little bit before the full escape happens, right? We go under this overpass, right? And as we come out, you're in this gridlock traffic, so to speak, right? Well, maybe not gridlocked, but all lanes are full, and there's just this taxi in there. The windows are busted out, but other than that, it's pretty innocuous, right? What's Sharper's activity, state of mind going on here?
Well, this is what we were looking for. Looking for an opportunity to disappear. So basically, I'll turn to Karen and say, keep Red Rum with you. He's a resource. He can help you get to safety. And I'll take the girl. And we'll meet up back at the news station in 2 days. Here's some money. And actually give her like credits that are not corp stamped, so she can actually, like untraceable cash. There's not much of it floating around, but so you guys give the three of them cash, take the girl with me, and disappear.
So, with everything going to plan here, what could possibly go wrong?
I thought what went wrong was the traffic.
No, I think that's good for you. That's leaving you kind of,
Well, the traffic stops
undetectable.
motion, gives them a chance to close in.
Oh,
Because I mean, I'd be happy with an arterial flow. If we're stuck in traffic, it doesn't matter if you jack another vehicle; you're still not going anywhere. That puts us on foot until we jack another car.
Mm.
so yeah, okay. So we'll go with gridlock, right? You're kind of stuck here a little bit. Um, you're getting ready, and then the little girl's like, "No, don't worry, don't worry. I can isolate the traffic signal from this vehicle. I can spoof it. Don't worry." And then she goes, "Ah, ah!" Right?
I just toss her over my shoulder and go.
What have you done? Right? And we kind of we cut back right to little tick 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 of that little wasp drone or whatnot. Um, Up near that big old power generator.
Yeah, it
And
probably exploded at the same moment that its master died.
maybe.
Yeah, that's true. I like that.
um, so you've got Screaming Girl on your back over your shoulder, and you're running through highway.
Well, as soon as possible, get down to under the underpass. I want to go for depth at this point because I am safer in the lower levels of a slum than a Renraku squad is.
Okay. So I think the final shot we see is all these kind of concerned citizens looking out of their window at a man kidnapping a young girl, a troll escorting two scientists out of this vehicle. Looks like they've probably an extraction gone wrong, and people are kind of they got their cameras out, like, oh my gosh, I think this is a shadow run or whatever. This must have I've heard about these. Um, but that's things aren't as clean as you may have liked. You have a couple days to lay low. So what I want to do here now, I'm not interested necessarily in like looking at that. What do you do on the first day? What do you do on the second day? I am ready for epilogues because I want to make sure we have enough time to debrief after kind of some hardcore content there. But I love epilogues. I love giving the players narrative freedom to describe the events of what happens after the run. So take it from there. And Synchro, you can talk about Synchro's legacy. You can give us a scene with Karen, whatever you think is appropriate for your character.
Mm-hmm.
You don't necessarily have to be in this scene,
Got
but
it.
why don't you lead us off, Synchro, if you have an idea what happens after this run, right?
So we essentially succeeded in the mission, though, right? So we in the shadow run, so we got paid.
You're getting paid. Um, First, you got paid for getting that footage from the van, right? So that money's already
Yeah,
waiting in your account. Um, and your fixer's good enough to have it in a secure enough account that you don't have to worry about it. Anything getting
yeah,
screwed over there. You're getting paid for getting back Karen and Jason, right? I mean, you
yeah,
couldn't get the other two, but there's nothing you could have done about that. Not to
yeah.
mention, along the way, you picked up a million new yen windfall from uh, Mr. Redrum's timely appearance. And I mean, I guess it's 5 million for him, but you take your cut of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So for synchro, you cut to um, this kind of really rundown, what would essentially be like what we think of as a reservation in the Pacific Northwest, like southern Alaska, and the sky is like full of like a smoggy kind of color, and it's got this heavy like stench of oil and burning kind of sulfurous kind of smells. And you zoom in on what was Synchro's house that he grew up in, kind of on this reservation with his mom. It's just her and like I think a couple cousins and aunts and stuff. They live in this like terrible, this really rough conditions, and you're watching her kind of looking at a data pad and seeing her account start to just spiral all the way up to the millions and millions of dollars, and then she's looking at her at the cousins and at the rest of her family, and just tears like start rolling down her face as she realizes what's going on.
Beautiful. How about you, Red Rum? You I'm assuming managed to get Karen and Jason back to the KSAF Seattle News headquarters, right? Where do you go from there?
I guess maybe we see Red Rum like meeting with Sharper, and probably also I imagine Ratatat is probably there also, because we would have like contacted him because he's getting paid for this too.
This nice new sidearm,
Yeah. Yeah, he's got an awesome new hand. Yeah, I think maybe we see them all patting each other on the back and maybe kind of going separate ways for now. And then I think we get like a 1 year later, like kind of epilogue thing, and we pretty much see the same like scene of this clubhouse that we saw on screen when he was describing to Sharper earlier on, of this like Red Rum's ideal like biker clubhouse thing, but instead of before it was kind of a fly through, like a little drone fly through of this empty, like it wasn't peopled, it was just this shiny new clubhouse. And I think we see Red Rum like at the head of the the table with his gavel and stuff, and he's finishing a meeting off, and he bangs the thing, and there's like, I think he initially pictured it as a trollish biker group, but there's all different sorts of like people like in it. And I think he walks out into this double door, there's all these different people and stuff out in there, and music and stuff going on, and I think maybe he looks super happy, and I think there's he walks past this wall of those kind of awesome like hologram like photos, like it's like a boomerang kind of thing where it's a looped image, and I think there's a photo of like Red Rum and Ratatat and Sharper there together, like they'd caught up at some other time, and I think maybe he's managed to get like a photo of maybe Synchro, like maybe it's actually from it's a funeral, like like when you're going to a funeral, they often have a picture and stuff about someone's life. There's that like up on the wall. There's kind of this big wall of family and friends and stuff like in the clubhouse. Yeah, and I think then maybe we get one scene of him like riding along with a whole big like awesome gang of badass bikers behind him, and then it cuts.
Beautiful. Sharper, what is your epilogue scene?
What happens with the girl? Is that mine to decide?
I can give you that, yeah.
I mean, basically what Sharper does is he contacts through a back channel a Renraku representative and pitches hardball. He says, she's dying. You have a limited window to get information from her. And that means it's going to cost you $6 million.
So, $6 million. Do you know how much money we've already been bleeding since this whole ordeal?
Not my problem. This is not corp dollars. This is not. This is unstamped new yen. Cash.
I heard you're working with the news organization. Do I have to worry about this information going to them?
Not if you pay me $6 million.
Kind of looks off to the side. You can see in like your little like hologram, like projection, right? 5. I'll do 5.
Done. And then we set up the deets. Double blind drop. No pink mohawk. All mirror shades.
That's right. Yeah, you've been scoping the place for a week.
So I get paid?
Oh, yeah, you get paid. And I think that the information that tell me how much of your stuff was bluff or truth.
How much of what stuff?
Is she dying?
Yes.
Okay.
The neural connection had to be sustained because the information that she's carrying was stamped at a genetic level. And so without the steadying influence of consistent access to the template, she just turned into a ball of cancer.
Yeah, and I think it's almost like the symptoms are similar to withdrawal.
Yeah.
Like her connection with this deep resonant matrix entity was like a drug in a way.
So for Synchro, go ahead and have a 20-step Shinto funeral, anonymously funded. So we'll just handle it. We'll even hire mourners. So lots of people show up with black umbrellas, and it's on a rainy day because it's in Seattle. You should be able to find one. Also, I'm going to kind of keep track of red rum from a distance, and I'm going to contact a town that's somewhere dry with a lot of open elbow space and say, look, we're looking to set up some quasi law and order, and this guy's going to have an organization here, and it can provide protection for people who want to live somewhere without a lot of corp interference. How's that sound?
Man, you just made like a Wild West frontier town for...
Rad.
Basically, I'm going to negotiate terms to where they pay him for protection. They are going to approach him with the offer. And I'm going to kind of orchestrate that from the background.
And as for the child herself, you know, when she inevitably passes away, what do you arrange
sold her to Renraku.
Oh, you gave them the body.
Well, before she died, so they had a chance. That's why it was so expensive, so that they could get in there and get what they could before it deteriorated.
That's gold, brother, but it's just a shell, right? Our
let's just say that was not a little girl.
Okay.
So, to Sharper, I mean, that was over a long time before they met.
Whatever helps you sleep at night, dude.
Yeah.
What was I going to ask then? Okay. So we have just sort of a general epilogue, right? Karen and Jason sharing their harrowing experience within the arcology, right? The things that they did see before they were taken away. They don't have the full picture, right?
But yeah, and my deal with Renraku didn't include them. So, I mean, I'm not going to contribute to their information.
And additionally, Deus's message, unfortunately for him, was not able to be resounded because of the explosion that was triggered. So he didn't get what he wanted. I think it'd be fun for me to roll the die of fate real quick to see like basically what happens to the arcology after all this. Because I can't say I necessarily was able to anticipate what would happen.
Well, if you did, then we're crappy players.
Yeah, right? A 4. Okay, that's not so bad. I think that the way that this looks Sharper is oftentimes just too right about stuff, right? You hear about biological contamination. The story that's sort of being spread is that experimental gas leaks and people's sort of behaving in strange ways. Unfortunately, it led to some casualties, right? They're saying that not everyone died in the arcology, right? But this could be a long process for them to make sure that's fully clear. They're installing new fail safes. They're installing new ventilation systems, right? And they got their PR people working double duty here to, sort of brighten the arcology up. And before you know it, yet again, mankind's folly has led to the consolidation of too much power in one place. And before you know it, the arcology is up and running again. And hopefully this time, history won't repeat itself. But maybe that's a little bit of an optimistic viewpoint. But when all you're concerned about is becoming the most powerful corporation in the world, you can accept a few setbacks. And remember, the Renraku Arcology Shutdown has been lifted. Well done.
Was that my epilogue?
Do you have more to add? Go for it.
Yeah, I'm rich now.
Lay it out there. How many million do you drop on the frontier town infrastructure and whatnot?
2. And it's cash, so that should be a lot.
Yeah.
Also going to spread it around the survivors. And go visit Red Rum and praise him on how well fortune seems to have worked out for him. I'm also going to build a modest dwelling with a shrine up in the mountains, like a half a day's journey away, that has like one tightly regulated connection to the outside world. And I'm gonna rent a couple cargo spaces to turn into safe houses in nearby cities. But I think he's earned some time off, so he's gonna sort of go into semi-retirement up in the hills.
What does vacation look like for Sharper?
There's a lot of meditation. There's a lot of reading. There's, like 4 hours of exercise a day, and then catching up on media, and also hiring people to find his friends and keep tabs on them. Plus, every now and then, like once a week, he'll go have drinks with Red Rum.
And rumors abound of the Tengu sword master who lives up in the Cascade Mountains and has gone to Buddhist seclusion and study.
And if students find their way to me, then we'll see if they're good enough, and I might train them.
Oh, yes. That would be the coolest Shadowrun sort of like story later, is like how I went up to the Cascade Mountains and met the cyber Buddhist priest and learned the art of the sword.
Well, hey, if I play again, it's possible one of the other players could be a student.
There you go. Well, that was I had a lot of fun. I thought the story we created was really interesting. I have, of course, learned a lot from this, and I have a lot of experiences to go into the future. I have a feeling that these sessions I've run, regardless of whether I touch another Shadowrun die or not, I think I can sort of translate those experiences to future games. And I have you awesome players to thank for all of that. Aaron, if you're watching this, thank you as well. But yeah, I just want to hear from you guys. We have a good 15 minutes here before time. Let's kind of just debrief a little bit and talk about our experiences, and if you have any feedback and, anything going on there, if you have time.
Can we do the debrief off of the live thing, if that's all right?
Yeah. Would you be willing? Could we do roses and thorns? Do you have additional debrief that would fall outside of that scope? Or is that what you'd like to be off broadcast?
Kinda, yeah. Is that all right? Just it's nothing it's nothing super bad, but just because I got a little bit freaked out for a moment there, and it would just be nice if it was
yeah,
like felt like a bit of a different space to discuss it in.
we can absolutely do that. I will make sure to collect all this information mentally, and I will hold on to it. So final farewell to our audience. Thank you for joining us through the horrors of the Renraku Arcology Shutdown, and we are going to go talk about it and try to feel a little bit better. So thanks for watching.